Hi everyone. So today I will be doing my project on implementing support for dual language learners. So this is just my table of contents. What I'll be discussing. Firstly, who dual language learners are, the TEA policy, which is the policy that I chose, the history of the policy, and then the system of policy implementation that supports dual language learners, followed by my advocacy plan and then my research. So who are dual language learners? What is their importance, their value, and why did I choose them, right? So dual language learners are children who are learning two languages simultaneously, and they can come from a very diverse background. This leads to bilingualism, which contributes to a multilingual society preparing for a globalized world. Supporting dual language learners fosters inclusivity and cultural awareness in schools. So, it's no surprise that the United States, it's literally so diverse. We're a melting pot of different ethnicities and nations and languages, right? So, of course, that means that there are going to be children who enter the public school system who have a different language that they speak at home, and then they go to public school for their education and they're learning English, right? Or so now they're learning two languages simultaneously, and therefore they are dual language learners. So dual language learners are also, there's about 5 million dual language learners in the United States, and they comprise more than 20% of young children population, and that goes across for more than half of all states. So that's a really huge population we're talking about here, and that really signifies the importance, right, that we help support them. Like I said, they represent a large population of school-age children in public schools, so it's important that we implement policies to support them. So what does an implementation of support for dual language learners look like? What can we do, and what does that look like, right? So if we take a look at the Texas Education Agency Senate Bill 560, it's a policy in place that it's a great example, right? So it firstly acknowledges the number of dual language learners in the state, right? In this particular case, Texas. And then they see that there's a need for the program to be implemented in the public schools, since it's one of the 5 leading states that serve a high population of dual language learners, right? So they acknowledge the need. Well, first they acknowledge the population of the dual language learners, and then they acknowledge the need for implementation, and then they implement those programs, the dual language learner programs, into the school districts, right? So it also acknowledges that it needs family collaboration, since the dual language learners are coming from families and backgrounds that have a different language at home than English. So with the pairing of the state education agency and the school district programs, right, we're able to support dual language learners through the implementation of these programs. So to give a little more background over the policy, right? It's called the Emergent Bilingual Strategic Plan, right? And it was actually passed fairly recently in 2021, and it became effective. Okay, yeah. So it basically just addressed the need of the ever increasing population or development of emergent bilingual learners, right? And here we can see that Texas alone serves more than 5.4 million students, and 25% of them identify as emergent bilingual students. That's just another word for dual language learner. There's a bunch of terms, right? So they saw that there was an increase of them, and that they needed to create a blueprint for support, needing to bring intentionality and focus to such a large specialized population. And I really love how it's worded like that, because they see the need of the population and they boom take action and implement programs, right? And then what the bill proposes is to first increase the number of bilingual certified teachers and the number of dual language or two-way programs, and to also educate the families and educators on the benefits of bilingualism, and then adopt a uniform process for identifying and monitoring bilingual learning with meaningful sources, data sources, and increase the number of bilingual and multilingual graduates. So like right there, boom, it gives like a very straightforward process of what needs to happen in what order in order for us to support these dual language learners and their families. So, like I said, the TEA Bill 560 gave a really good example and system of policy implementation where you take the bill, right, that they had, and then you put that into the school districts, right? And then they create a program, and then that gives us our dual language support. So now now that we know the process, right? We know what to do and everything. It's just a matter of how can we get the states to acknowledge the need and even just the population, right? So this is my advocacy plan where I created a plan of action or a call in action for parents, community members, anybody really who sees that the dual language learners in within their communities need support and their school district doesn't have a program in place already, right? I really want to point out this fact right here from Preply. It states that at least half of the global population is bilingual, and in many parts of the world, speaking two or more languages is more common than just speaking one. And I don't know if anybody has really traveled outside the US, but if you go to Europe, they're speaking German, French, Italian, they're speaking, 4 to 5 languages at a time. If you go to Asia, like you're gonna find people who speak Japanese, Korean, Chinese. You're gonna find like a very multilingual society in other countries, right? And I feel like sometimes in the US, it can be kind of looked down upon sometimes, being bilingual, when if you're speaking anything other than English, it's looked down upon. When we're behind globally when it comes to multilingual development within our students and our education system. So I think it's very important that bilingual and biliteracy be promoted, especially since the dual language learners are that population that will help us get there in the future. And then, so right here, it's a what can you do, right, to make change? What can you do? You can write a letter or call your local school district and ask them to implement a dual language program that would only benefit the students, right? And then there's a script that you can use in order for them to send to the school district in order to get a program, right? And then the mission, right, is kind of that implementation, the system of implementation on the slide previously, which is the implementation of the school districts and the campuses and the teachers, right? And they have the guidelines to follow and support the dual language learners, and then the school district to develop a bilingual program, and then for the campus to have a model that enriches the education of the students. So then for research, I got this from the Department of Health and Human Services, right? And they did an article called The System Framework to Support Dual Language Learners in Early Care and Education Settings. So I really like how they point out like the family and community partnership and the workforce support, right? And then of course the quality and care of and education, right? So I like how they point this out of here in the workforce because it talks about like the bilingual teachers and how we need more of them in order to help the dual language learners. And then the family and community partnerships, like if you want to help them out, you're gonna have to get involved and like engage with them and their families and to kind of have a handle on what their background is like. So right here, it basically my research just supports that home language, language development and maintenance is an important outcome for children who are dual language learners. Like we're not trying to decrease their native language, whatever language they speak, in order to improve their English or like kind of like, oh, English is superior. Like no, the goal is for them to simultaneously learn both and grow in both so that they're able to be multilingual, which only helps them academically and like across the board. Like there's no negatives, it's only positives. And this also promotes an an equitable, inclusive, and culturally linguistic program in schools and educational settings that is just an effective pathway to schools for success in children who are dual language learners. So that is all. Thank you guys for watching my video on my presentation. Thank you.